Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's cracking like Fantasy Champs?
What's good?
My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. Poppin' Rick.
What's up? What's up?
So we got some interesting stuff to get to on this version of the show. Super excited for training camp to start kicking into high gear. The rookies report for most teams. You know, I think the Chiefs can get to camp so early. By the way,
why is that?
Because I think they're usually the first Thursday night football game. The first team gets 4 days earlier. First two teams that play.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense.
So that would make sense. So yeah, but rookies.
Oh, is it the Ravens? Is that opening night this year?
I believe so. That could be the case. But yes, the NFL season is, I would say, it's upon us. It's coming. We're gonna see some real football games in just 2 weeks. Not real football games, but like you get the picture.
Oh yeah, true.
Some preseason football games. So
what?
I'm gonna try my best.
What's the Hall of Fame game?
That is the most boring game in the history of games.
Yes, but it is the first one.
I'm gonna watch football. Who is the Hall of Fame game anyway?
Bears and Texans.
Ooh,
you probably don't see
Caleb Williams appearance. Maybe?
Anyone though?
Please.
Do you think Caleb Williams plays in that game?
I don't know. That's what I was gonna say. The Caleb Williams appearance, maybe.
It's August 1st.
Okay.
We're creeping up on that.
Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying, bro. But anyway, so that's coming, and we are jumping into what also is coming is draft month in August. So we're getting closer and closer to your fantasy football team's drafts, and we have a lot of content to bring to you concerning that. But see, I was about to jump right into the show. You know, we don't even know what we're talking about. So we changed the show on Thursday on the last show on Tuesday's show to the AFC West. So instead of a mock draft, we're going to do the AFC West breakdown. Yeah. We're going to try to do that faster, maybe 20 minutes to 25 minutes for all 4 teams. We can try. What is that? 7 minutes per team?
Yeah.
And then we're going to do, maybe we'll do this first. I don't know. Keep, trade, cut. First time that we've ever done that on this show. So that should be interesting. We should have some interesting conversations about that. I believe we'll do that first. And then we'll jump into the AFC West. But exciting stuff.
Yeah, dude.
So before we jump into the main chunk of the show, check out our website. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, just do us a favor and leave a nice, kind review. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below. The likes and the comments, man, watch the video entirely all the way to the end. I beg you. And then then comment. And then we'll get more people watching this. And then we can give you more content.
Yeah.
So there's that. Okay. Keep, trade, cut. Old man edition, Rick.
Give it to me.
Okay, so we have 3 guys in keep, trade, cut. You have to choose. Everyone knows what this is, but I'll just give it a breakdown for people who are confused and listening in the car. You have to choose one guy to keep. You have to choose one guy to trade, and then you have to choose one guy to cut. Now, this isn't for real life. This is for fantasy football, so keep that in mind. But it is old man edition because I picked all old men for this. So here you go, Rick. Keep, trade, cut. Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, and Cooper Kupp.
This is a tough one for me because I'm debating in my head of who I want to keep. But I'm gonna say I'm cutting Amari Cooper. That to me is the first one. I think I'm gonna trade Devontae Adams because he has the most value. And I'll keep Cooper Kupp. But I don't know if I like that.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
I know for a fact that I can get a lot for Adams still. I probably can for Cooper too. It would probably depend, or a Kupp, excuse me. It probably depends on what league you're in.
Yeah, for sure. Last year, let's see. I wish it organized it properly. 15 points a game for Amari Cooper last year.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp had 13.7 points per game last year. And Devontae Adams, where are you, buddy? Maybe it was higher.
Probably was higher. He was wide receiver 10.
15.6. So 15.6 for Adams, 15.1 for Amari Cooper, and then for Kupp, 13.7. So you chose the guy with the lowest.
I did.
I don't mind the argument there of the trade. That makes me think.
I also think, just looking at it, Adams is the oldest. Not by much, but he is the oldest with the most, on his legs. Mm-hmm. He also has the worst quarterback.
Adams, yeah.
Yeah. And, he doesn't have... I mean, we're going to have Aiden O'Connell all year.
Are they really running this year with Aiden O'Connell?
Or Gardner Minshew.
Oh, boy.
One of those guys.
Imagine doing absolutely nothing at the quarterback position. I wonder if they tried to trade up, you think? You think they tried to trade up?
I think they did. They were trying to get... I heard something that they wanted to get Penix.
Interesting.
But
interesting. That probably would have been decent for them. A day one starter.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, you ready?
Yep.
I agree with you. I think you have to cut Cooper Kupp. I mean, Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
He has no value.
Not really. And he is what he is.
And he is what he is. Yeah, he's going to be 12 to 14 points per game this year, probably.
Yeah.
And, he's old. He's old. Like, he's older than both of these guys. So
he's actually younger. But
is he really?
Yeah, but he's still 30, and he's played 9 years. Cooper Kupp's only played 7.
Okay. All right. That's what I was going to say. He feels like he's been in the league
longer.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got to cut Amari Cooper because there's no trade value. There's nothing there.
Yeah. So, he doesn't have the same value as the other two guys for a trade, for sure.
I'm going to keep Devontae Adams.
Okay.
Because I think Devontae Adams can produce still. But It is terrible. Like, you'll get more production out of Cooper Kupp probably, but this is where people love Cooper Kupp. Like, people like Devontae Adams. People love Cooper Kupp. The Cooper Kupp people are crazy. So, I'm going to try to trade that to somebody who's crazy, because if they're crazy and they love Cooper Kupp enough in a redraft league, what happens?
See, I know, your brother, for example, is crazy about Devontae Adams. So I was thinking...
My other brother is crazy about Cooper Kupp.
Well, there you go.
They like both old men. It's like names they know.
Yeah. It's tough. I think that you are fair in that, and that's what I was going back and forth between.
Yeah, because I think like Devontae Adams was always like between 7 and 15 in drafts, depending on the season that he had.
Yeah.
And he was been consistently that guy, and he's a guy we like. Like, I would, if I had to rank these three guys, career-wise, Adams would be at the top.
Yeah, he won.
But Cooper Kupp literally went as a top 2 selection in drafts in half PPR.
Was that last year or the year before?
It was one of the two. So, like, they love him. I don't know what it is.
Well,
obsessed. They love Cooper Kupp, man.
He did have
one of the greatest seasons
ever. The greatest wide receiver season of all time.
Now, to be fair, I wouldn't individually trade for any of these guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
But yeah, for me, it's cut Cooper, trade Kupp, keep Devontae Adams. I hate that because I don't want any of them. And I'm thinking, like, in the offseason, I always think dynasty in mind.
Right.
I'll trade all 3 of you. So, interesting. I like that. All right, let's break down. You ready to break down the AFC West here?
Yeah, we can do that.
So now that took us about 10 minutes. That was good. That's the Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Las Vegas Raiders, Los Angeles Chargers.
Yep. There you go. He did it this time.
I did it. And we're going to have half the league done at this point. How about that? Actually, Is that correct? No, that's not right.
I think so.
That doesn't seem right.
We've done 2 of these, right?
4 divisions now.
Did we do the South?
Yeah, we did AFC North and South, and then we did AFC North and West. I mean, AFC, NFC, West and South. So that's 16 teams. Yes, we're halfway there.
Yeah.
All right. It's interesting to break these teams down, too. And what happened in the offseason. So, all right, let's start with the Denver Broncos. You ready?
Yep.
Lots of changes for Denver. Broncos country, let's ride no more. Russell Wilson punted to the Steelers. We talked about that.
For Bo Nix.
And Bo Nix gets drafted.
Your guy.
Oh, God. At pick 112. And you laughed at me. I guess I was wrong.
Overall pick.
You know what I said? I was like telling Rick during the season, early in the season, when I was still a Mac Jones truther. I still have Mac Jones truther in my handle. It's gone now. It's Drake May truther. I'll be a truther for whatever quarterback we have. Kill me now. Except for Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, you do not like that. He's like your arch nemesis.
Oh my God, I can't stand him. Homie's showing up to practice with the guys, with Drake May and Jacoby Brissett, like he's there. You know what's funny? Quick side note on what's his name? Bailey Zappi.
Yeah.
He shows up to camp, and you got May there, and you got Joe Milton. You know, you just drafted him too, and then you got Jacoby Brissett, who they just signed. And they're just doing basic dropbacks, new offense, lots of stuff under center, right? So like, I teach these guys how to get under center,
right?
7-step drops, not used to it. Zappy goes out there and they're just throwing into the square on the net, and Zappy couldn't hit it. All the other quarterbacks were hitting it just fine, and he was getting mad that he couldn't hit it. I'm like, how did this guy have a moment?
I don't know, man.
I can't figure it out. But anyway, I hate Zappy. I hate Bailey Zappy.
None of the Denver Broncos.
Now, I will say, I brought all that up to say that last season, right? I was talking to Rick, and I'm like, there's this quarterback, and he's not even my guy. I don't like him. I watched the film. Rick's like, watch the film. I watched the film. I was like, no, I don't want this kid. He's the check down king of college football.
Yeah.
So I want nothing to do with him. I was like, see you later. And but my argument early in the season was like, there's guys like Bo Nix that if you get the 14th, 15th pick and you're winning football games, that he'll be. He wasn't there, so I guess you were right, Rick.
Yeah. Well, you can blame Sean Payton for that.
Yeah.
Now, if you just look at his stats in college, like his last year, dude, unreal. Like one of the best statistical seasons I've ever seen.
Oregon had a really good offense last year.
77% completion percentage, 4,500 yards, 45 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. That is ridiculous. I had a few problems with Bo Nix. For one, he played 5 full years as the starter in college. He has the most college football games played as a starter, I think, ever. For the quarterback position, which is he's got a lot of experience. He was pretty much an NFL quarterback this last year playing in college. Number 2, Oregon led the league in screen passes, which, as we know, the check down king. But they led the league in screen passes, so his completion percentage is already kind of out the window to me when I hear that. And then his age, like the dude's 24. He's older than me.
Yeah, so he should be pro ready.
So he is pro ready. So that is, and watching like the tape on him, I didn't actually hate him as much as I thought I would. I think I like him more than like Kenny Pickett when he was coming out. Not by much. He's kind of in the same tier, but he should be okay year one, and he's gonna fit the Sean Payton system. But he's not gonna do he's gonna be average at best. He's gonna be somewhere in that like middle tier to low tier of guys.
He was drafted way too high.
For sure.
His comp is...
He's not a 12th overall pick.
His comp is Derek Carr, so that scares me a little bit too.
That's who I think he like...
That's probably who he is. Yeah, that's exactly who he is.
And year one, he might not even be that. But he should be pro ready, though.
Zach Wilson was also traded to the Denver Broncos as well. There are reports that Zach could fight for the job and get it week 1. And then when he throws 4 picks in one game, Bo Nix will play. What are the chances Bo Nix does not start week 1? Because I actually think it's kind of high.
Really, that he does not?
Yeah, because Zach Wilson. Okay, Zach Wilson is like one of those wide receivers that shows up to camp, and when he's not wearing pads and when he's wearing t-shirts and shorts and he's not wearing pads, he looks like this elite wide receiver. And then the second you throw the pads on, he just sucks.
Wide receiver. Quarterback.
Yes, I said wide receiver. Yeah, that was what I was saying. He's like one of those wide receivers.
Oh, okay, I get what you're
saying. Zach Wilson will show up in training camp and preseason and maybe put up like these really big, like I would say athletically and arm strength wise, Zach Wilson will make Bo Nix look like a dum-dum, like in camp. And then Bo Nix will just be consistent and okay.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, let's start Zach Wilson, see what we got there. Then they'll start Zach Wilson. He'll throw 4 picks because he doesn't have a brain, and they'll go to Bo Nix real quick. I think they would prefer to do that, but if any team in the league outside of New England and Denver need to start a rookie quarterback week 1, it would be...
No, so I get what you're saying with that, and I do think Zach Wilson will look better than Bo Nix in shorts and t-shirts in terms of just like chucking the ball. Sean Payton is in love with quarterbacks that just do what he says and gets the ball out quick.
Yeah.
Like if he was an analyst for Fox Sports before he got the Broncos job, like in between the Saints and Broncos job, and all he would talk about was like quarterbacks like Drew Brees, Tom Brady. He loved Mac Jones. He's like, just get the ball out, run the offense, like guys that make good decisions, don't turn the ball over. Like Bo Nix is his dream quarterback. It's exactly what he wants. That's why they took him at 12. I think he's going to start week 1. I think it's there is a chance that Zach Wilson just blows them away, but I don't know. I think Bo Nix is much more.
Bo Nix using his brain, kind of like almost like a Mac Jones type draft selection. Check downs, not much athletic ability. Right?
Sean Payton loves that.
And then you got like bird for brains over here, Zach Wilson, who has it all athletically.
65 yards in the wind in Denver.
Yeah, but he can't friggin' figure out what guy to throw it to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But it wouldn't surprise me if they start the season. Like, do you think Denver has these grandiose illusions that they can win football games this year? I don't think so. Well, you know what? Sean Payton's kind of a lunatic. You might be right.
He is.
He might be like, oh, we're going to win the division. Yeah, all right. He might get third in the division.
I will tell you, though, I do think it will be an open competition to who starts week 1.
Yeah.
So there is a chance.
I just heard things about Zach Wilson possibly taking the week 1 job. Like he has an
opportunity. I could see it. Bo Nix to me just screams like everything Sean Payton wants the guy.
Yeah. Neither for fantasy.
No.
Running back, they had Javonte Williams, so he's still here. They have Jaleel McLaughlin, who is still here. They did draft a guy in the 5th round, Audric Estime. He is a running back out of Notre Dame. Ran a 4.71. I mean, what the hell, Sean Payton? He's basically Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Refusing to modernize.
In my quick look and overview of the offseason and like what I've seen so far of like NFL teams and everything, the Broncos are going to be one of the most frustrating, most annoying teams like in the whole league, especially for fantasy football. They have been with Russell Wilson, so it's nothing new.
Under Sean Payton in New Orleans, they had one of the funnest fantasy football teams in the league. Michael Thomas,
Alvin Kamara,
Mark Ingram. Like they had guys, they had horses. Drew Brees was a quarterback and started for a long time. Like, and now it's just like, what the hell are you doing? I know you can only do so much in an offseason, but like Denver, man, you guys suck.
You give him too much power, maybe. I don't know.
Javonte Williams, though, he's going off the board ADP 112. He's the only running back on the team that I really think could be like super good. He averaged 11 points.
I was so excited for Javonte Williams.
Yeah, he's disappointing.
But even like you look at the end of last year, like he had flashes of like fantasy relevance coming off a 20 ACL. He's now 2 years removed from it. Like everything should point to like it's his job. Like he should get opportunity. And then all the early reports are Javonte Williams has to earn it. Like they want what's his name? McLaughlin.
Yeah, McLaughlin, whatever his name
whatever that guy is. They want him to be a huge role in the offense. Then they take another running back in like the third round. It's like, what is going? I think they want to use all three guys, and it just makes your head explode.
Yeah, and
I will still take a risk on Javonte though.
That is the case, but I will say last year, 16 games, 217 attempts, 47 receptions. So for me, it's not workload for him because he had 260 plus opportunities. It was efficiency. He had 228 receiving yards, not great, and 774 rush yards. If you rush it 200 times, you should be in 1,000 yards, easily. In the NFL, you should do that. 3.6 yards per carry. Now, that could be the fact that the offensive line isn't great in Denver, and he's coming off the ACL injury. So, that could have been the case. But, if you get 260 opportunities, that is a high-volume play in fantasy football, and you should be producing with that. And I've never seen a guy get close to 300 touches and be the RB31. That doesn't make any sense in PPR formats. So,
to me, I wanted to blame that on the ACL because going into last year, we said about him and Breece Hall, who both tore their ACLs in 2022. Yeah. We said temper your expectations. Coming off major injuries, guys just don't do well, and he didn't. The problem is it was just so bad. If he was 4 yards a carry, I'd be yeah, I mean, coming off turn ACL, you can't really expect that much. But 3.5 is brutal, and I don't think that offense is getting any better.
The plus side here is that I will say, drafting at pick 112.
Yeah, it's what do you got to lose?
At 100,
you're getting the most talented guy in that room,
and you're getting a guy that might get 250 touches.
Right.
So, I'd do it. I just don't think Denver's going to be all that much better than they were last year, which limits what he can do. He only scored 5 touchdowns last year, too. So, there's some issues here with the Denver Broncos that are glaring. I don't know how much. They signed Sean Payton for a long time. I don't think Sean Payton's going to be the head coach much longer. Wide receivers, Marvin Mims, Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds. They did draft Troy Franklin in this draft.
Mid.
4th round, pick 2, so he's basically a 3rd round pick. Franklin is electrically fast. 4.41 in the draft. He's got comps to Jamison Williams. Speed-wise, he's very... I wanted the Patriots to draft him in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
We didn't, of course. But he has the same kind of profile as not Darnell Mooney, as Marvin Mims, who got hurt last year. He ran a 4.38. So you
want to get faster, you draft fast guys.
Yeah, I don't know what their idea is with this. And they still have Cortland Sutton.
Well, I don't necessarily mind that. I just don't I don't know. None of the guys stand out. I don't really know what Sean Payton wants to do with them. It's also interesting to see that player profile has Marvin Mims as the wide receiver 1, and it's Cortland Sutton as the wide receiver 2. I think that's interesting.
They love Marvin.
The only good thing is
about him. He was getting hyped up before last season, and
Sutton or Mims.
Mims,
yeah,
and then he got hurt. So,
well, he had flashes last year for sure. It's just I don't know. The good thing I will say about this room is for fantasy, none of them are getting drafted high. Cortland Sutton is the first Bronco receiver off the board, and he's wide receiver 50 on Underdog. Mm-hmm. So you want to take a flyer on Mims or Troy Franklin in the 15th round, they're available.
All right, so I guess the only fantasy relevant guy here is Cortland Sutton. I don't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I'm not crazy.
I
actually would take a flyer on Mims though.
Yeah, I would
the 15th round.
Mims, Troy Franklin, not so much, but Mims definitely. But I will say Cortland Sutton, I don't think will be on the Denver Broncos by week 1.
Oh, bold take. I could see that though.
I think that he could get cut or traded, so there's a chance for that. Tight ends, they have Adam Troutman and Greg Dulcich. Both guys had okay performances at the tight end position.
Yeah, both kind of mid, though.
But they're both mid. And I would say, so here's the big thing for me. I don't know which guy they want to catch the ball for them. They traded for, what's his name? Adam Troutman.
Yeah.
And Dulcich was having some really good games, and then they traded for Troutman. It's like, what the hell's going on here? Trotman. One of them got hurt last year, correct?
It was Dolch, yeah, Dolch. Dude, as a rookie, he showed flashes and was good. And then last year, in 2 games played, he had 4 fantasy points and 1 fantasy point. He didn't play the rest of the season.
So I would like to believe that looking at their receiver room,
yeah,
and knowing that the Saints for years used the tight under Sean McVay used the tight end position, that something here might change for
them.
them.
They definitely want to use the tight end position. I just think it's going to be like you don't really know who it's going to be.
Well,
whether it's both guys.
I think the problem for me is like when I look at the situation is that there is no receivers really that can take the target share. So like you're seeing one of these tight ends, Dolchich or Trotman, their target share is going to increase just based on that. So it makes me think like, oh, maybe one of these guys, but I don't like either of them. So it just makes it harder for me. Denver sucks. This is a bad team. This is a very bad team. There's not. Did we talk about any fantasy options besides Javonte Williams?
No.
So, good luck, Denver.
Maybe.
Have fun. And they're not even the worst team in the division.
They might be.
They could be. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, it's debatable.
Let's talk about the best team in the division. Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, there we go.
Who I remember last year, everyone was talking about how the AFC West was going to be this daunting team, this daunting division. And now they're just the whole suckbag division.
Yep.
So, anyway. Kansas City, Super Bowl champions. Nothing really changing here except for maybe the wide receiver room a little bit. Not sure. Yeah. I have some interesting thoughts on the wide receiver room. Mahomes, very good at football. He's going to stay in the top 5 probably in fantasy football, although this past year, Mahomes finished as the quarterback 7. Quarterback 7. Quarterback 7. I'm through 17 weeks, sorry. But quarterback 7. Yeah. I think that's what he is. I don't think he's, unless he throws 50 touchdowns in a season.
I mean, it's the year before he was QB1.
Yeah, this is what happens. He goes back and forth.
I think it was regression. He's not going to be QB1. I agree with you on that. But QB 7 or 8, like, that's a little low to me. I think he'll be QB5. I'll say QB 4.
Rankings wise, yeah, he's 4. So he's still good. Not much to say with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
I will say he showed up to camp looking like a roll. Tweeted a video of him and it said Patrick Mahomes, man. So he's not looking too good.
Hey, don't be mean. He'll still put 30 touchdowns and 4,800 yards.
Even the picture, man. This picture they got here, he looks he looks bigger.
He might have a better year than last year, though. I'm actually convincing myself right now that he's going to be better than last year.
You like Patrick Mahomes?
I do.
I mean, who wouldn't? He is going in the 5th round. Fourth
I think
round.
He had a down year, dude.
Fourth round.
He had a very down year. Still won a Super Bowl in a bad year, which is crazy.
If everyone's being a try-hard, I might be able to snag Patrick Mahomes and just call it a day. All right, running backs. You have Pacheco. They have undrafted guys after that.
Clyde is still on the team. He's not on the depth chart, but he's like the running back 7.
Freaking Clyde, get the hell out of here! What a horrible draft selection.
Yeah,
your quarterback covers up a lot because Andy Reid the last couple of years, my goodness, bro.
Some picks, yeah.
There have been.
What do you think of Pacheco? Because you've been down on him in the past. He finished as RB15.
I gotta say, everyone thinks he's funny. I think he runs like a clown. Like I think the way he runs the ball, like stomping his feet on, like I that annoys me. I think it looks weird. I've never seen a running back run like this. And
he runs aggressive.
I find it hard to watch. Like it's just like you're trying so hard. If you just ran like functionally normal, you'd be 10% faster. But no, we gotta run like a horse.
Do you know where he is an underdog right now?
Yeah, he's 42. No way, no how. See you later. That take's already there. See, nope. He averaged 50. He was running back 14 last year. Averaged 15.3 points per game, 9 touchdowns. He is the only guy. So I will say that in a really good offense, he is really the only guy here. So that I don't hate that as much. I want to see what he is on Sleeper because it might be, if he's a 5th, 6th round pick on Sleeper, then that might be worth it for me. But yeah, no, I think I just don't like him because
He's on the Chiefs.
I was a Clyde guy. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're on the Chiefs. This is fantasy football. This is the best offense in the league. Like you got to get players on this team.
That's true.
But yeah, what are your thoughts on Pacheco, real quick?
I don't mind him at all. It will kind of depend on where he goes, though. You're right, but I don't mind him.
Okay. Wide receiver. So this is I'm going to quickly go through this right now because there's a lot of stuff going on here with the Chiefs. They have a lot of guys. There's going to be so many dudes cut. I don't know how they can run this many. They have like 7 receivers that could make a roster. 8 actually that could make a roster, any roster in the NFL. And they don't have a wide receiver one. So that's good.
Yeah.
But so the guys are Marquise Hollywood-Brown, who they signed this offseason. They drafted Xavier Worthy. They have Rashee Rice, who this is his first year in the league, correct? Rookie season. Justin Watson.
This past year, you mean? Yeah.
This past year, yeah. It's first season. Justin Watson, Sky Moore, who sucks, and then Kadarius Toney, who can't catch a cold, and then they still have Hardman. So I would say Sky Moore is probably getting cut from this group.
Sky Moore's probably getting cut. I could see Kadarius Toney getting cut, and I think Justin Ross probably ends up on like the injury reserve list again.
Yeah, that's probably fair. But
and then the big elephant in the room, Rashee Rice. The league has almost guaranteed that he will be suspended. It's just a matter of how long.
Yeah. So we'll find out on Rashee, which leaves a rookie and Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
So
now, Worthy was a first round pick, wasn't he? Did they use a first rounder on him, or was it top of the second?
It was 128.
So
which I will say, first round picks for Andy Reid at wide receiver position, not great.
That's true.
Not great. Sky Moore.
Well, who have they taken? Sky Moore was a second rounder.
What was it? Rashee Rice was 224.
And he looked good last year. Rashee Rice was like the wide receiver 1 on that team last year.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
in the second half of the year, after the bye week, he was a beast.
He was a
beast.
I was listening to Matt Harmon's podcast.
Yeah.
His Reception Perception podcast, and he went through a whole Rashee Rice thing, which I thought was very intriguing. And it didn't hit me until he said this. But he said what Andy Reid likes to do when he brings in wide receivers is he tells them what specific role he wants them to play. So Worthy's going to walk into that room and he's going to play the Hardman / what the hell is that guy's name that they had last year that caught the catch that's sealed the Super Bowl? Can't remember. MVS, yes. He's very similar to MVS. So he's a field stretcher, very fast. That's why they drafted him. They drafted him to be hopefully a better Mecole Hardman or a better MVS. So that's his role. Rashee Rice, literally, if you look at his route tree and his success rate, it is Juju Smith-Schuster from the year he was on the Chiefs. That's the role he plays. And he said the type of receiver that he is in college and in the pro game right now is not that, do you remember when AB left the Steelers and everyone was like, Juju's the wide receiver 1, and then he couldn't play that role and they had to put him back at slot?
Right.
That's what Rashee Rice is. So not necessarily that he's a slot, but he plays a very similar role. And Harmon said that he doesn't think that Rashee Rice can be NFL-wise that wide receiver 1, then he's always going to be a 2 or maybe a 3. But he still had a really good season. So really,
that's the thing.
The whole point of the argument was what he did last year isn't necessarily the cap. He might be able to get better, but don't anticipate him to be this elite wide receiver that's like a Tyreek Hill in the making. You know what I mean?
The problem is he's not that type of receiver, but with the way they utilized him and the way they even utilized Juju, if you're a good enough slot receiver like he is, he could still be extremely elite playing that style.
Oh, for fantasy football, hell yeah. Yeah, hell yeah.
He can get 100 catches in that offense.
Yeah, he's just not.
He might not even play half the season.
That's the problem with this season is that he's not going to play half the season, likely. But I think the other thing is that too. You remember the Julian Edelman seasons back in the day?
Yeah.
I could see that for Rashee Rice, where he's like
Right.
7 to 9 in fantasy football.
That's why, like, he's not like is he a true X receiver who's going to be on the boundaries making jump? But like, no, he's not that. But can he be Debo Samuel, where they just utilize him as a weapon? Can he be Julian Edelman, where they just play him in the slot? Like, I think he can.
Yep.
And he was very good at it last year in the playoffs. But yeah, you are right.
So it hit me because when he said that, I was like, wait a minute. Now that I watch the Chiefs games back, he looks like a healthier, faster version of Juju.
Yeah. Healthier, faster, bigger, stronger, younger.
But like the role he played, same as Juju.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So I'm curious to see why they drafted Worthy, what their plans are for him, because I originally thought when they brought in Marquise Brown that he was the new MVS, that he was going to be that guy for them. They were going to continue to use Rashee Rice underneath and Travis Kelce underneath.
It seems like Worthy and Brown play the same role.
That's what I was going to say. So I don't know what the plan is for those guys. I will say fantasy football wise, I do like Hollywood Brown. Right now, I want to like 52. That's not bad. ADP of 52 on Underdog. I like Marquise Brown because he's a Chief and he actually he's shown that he can be really good at the wide receiver position. So if he's getting a lot of target share, like 120 to 140 targets, and that very may well happen without Rashee Rice, and he's got the speed, he could be the closest thing we've seen the Chiefs have to Tyreek Hill since Tyreek Hill. I don't think he's going to have the same numbers and put up the same. I don't think he's going to be as ridiculous because Hill is ridiculous, but I think Hollywood can be a really, really good fantasy wide receiver, and if you get him in the 6th round, 5th round, that's pretty good. I have no interest in Xavier Worthy for this year. We'll see what happens. Maybe midway through the season he ends up being good and we can snatch him, but I don't want him. So
I like Xavier Worthy for this year.
He's just like, you know why he got drafted as high as he did? Because he ran the fastest 40 time in the history of the NFL. That's why he got drafted.
I mean, from what I've seen of Worthy, he looked pretty good to me in college. And I'm not the biggest Hollywood Brown person, so I think there's a chance that Worthy overtakes Brown at some point and becomes that guy. And they clearly want him to be that guy. And I also want to see how, like, if Rashee Rice is suspended like 12 games and he's out for pretty much the entire year.
Yeah.
I mean, Worthy could be really good year one. He's risky. He's a lot riskier than Brown. And I do think right away, like, you're going to see Hollywood be the guy. But I don't know. It's more about, like, I'm not like, I liked Worthy. I really liked Worthy as a prospect, and then he goes to the Chiefs. And then, like, Hollywood Brown is, like, not a guy that I've never really been super crazy about. Mm-hmm. So it's the combination of those two things for me. But it is interesting. I think they're both intriguing, though, especially with Rashee Rice getting suspended. Because even though they don't play the same role, it's still targets, right?
Yeah.
And, like, where are those targets going to go?
Right. Looks like his success rate by route wasn't bad in college.
Because I think Worthy, like, he's going in, like, the 8th round right now, I think. So, like, I don't mind that.
You know what? It's a I've been burned thing.
Yes, that is true.
Because it's like Rashee Rice was good, like, last year. But they brought in Tony. He sucked. They drafted Sky Moore. He sucked. Like, they brought in Rashee Rice. He was good. But, like, it's like every next guy up that you want for the Chiefs at receiver, it just never works out. And we all get hyped into it. And then it looks like the Brady Patriots back in the day when they had a bunch of receivers that all had a specific role. Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy's role to run dead straight or posts to the middle of the field, right?
Yeah,
because they're going to.
You're right. And Worthy, like, if you think of, like, his play style too, it's going to be like big plays, and, like, if they use him in that role, like, how good is he really going to be for fantasy if he's not?
Yeah, if he's the MVS role, like, you're just getting a waiver wire wide receiver. That's what you're getting if you draft him.
He just like it could be the same argument though as, like, Rice from last year, where it's like he's going to play that MVS role, but he's actually good. You know, like, Rashee Rice is going to play that Juju role, but he's way better than Juju.
You know what's funny about Worthy too, that hold on a second. Any other thoughts on this room before I'm trying to?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right. Because I wanted to look at the stats really quickly for Smith-Schuster, and Juju.
Yeah.
So the year he was on the Chiefs, Juju had 78 catches. I don't know how many games he played, but 933 yards, average of 12 yards per catch, and 3 touchdowns. Rashee Rice last year, 79 catches, 938 yards, 12 yards per reception, 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it was literally carbon copied.
If you look at Rashee Rice past the bye week, which we've said this about.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I feel like I say Juju, and because Juju's on the Patriots, you elicit some kind of like.
No, I mean Juju was
like
okay.
Bad
on the Chiefs,
response.
Even on the Chiefs, like I think Rice is a better version.
So if Rice was great and all, right?
And
why did they go out and get Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy?
Well, they didn't have because they had MVS.
You can't have 3 Tyreek Hills on the team.
MVS is terrible. They got rid of him. McCole Hardman is not good. He's on the team, but he might as well not be. So they needed somebody to fill that role.
To me, it's still gross. Like, I'm looking at this receiver room, and the more we talk about it, I'm like, who's the guy?
But they don't have a guy. But you have
so
to
if they don't have a guy,
we're talking
and they're
this
just
year,
going to throw it to
2024,
Tyreek Hill.
Rashee Rice might be completely out of the picture. He might be suspended the entire year for all we know.
That's fine.
It's
That's
not
fine.
bad.
I totally understand that. I'm more speaking about the fact that they throw it a lot, but like when you have Travis Kelce on the team, and then you drafted Xavier Worthy, you signed Marquise Hollywood Brown, you have Rashee Rice, and then there's other guys on the team that are decent receivers that are probably going to take opportunity. There's not a guy on this team that can reach 140 to 160 targets, and if we're drafting them like they are, then that's a problem. I know there's nobody on the team that we're drafting, but it's like I've done the hype thing for all of these guys for a while.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I also think Mahomes threw 27 touchdowns last year, right?
Yeah.
That's the lowest of his career since 2019, and he only played 14 games that year.
Yeah, I think we're
going to see an increase in touchdowns.
Well, the problem that they had, and I think that's what they were trying to address this offseason, was Worthy and Hollywood Brown and the speed aspect of it, because
they're going to have more. They had very the Chiefs' progression as an offense started as big plays. It was Tyreek Hill. It was chucking the ball 80 yards. And over time, it has become short yardage. It's become more like the Brady Patriots offense. Yeah. I think they want to mix it up a bit more and go.
They want
there's still going to be short game Patriot offense. That's still going to be their offense. But the big plays have to have a higher success rate for their offense.
So that's what
they're going for.
That's what makes me worried about Brown and Worthy, is that their job is to just clear crap out in the middle of the field with their speed. Yeah. So you have to run cover 2 against this team, because if you don't, you're going to get absolutely destroyed down the field. And it makes it more challenging. So guys like Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice, whenever he's back, take advantage of that, right? But we'll see. It could go a plethora of different ways. I don't know that Worthy will start early either. They like this Justin Watson kid, so he might play a little bit, and Worthy will take over, because the NFL is stupid. But anyway, any more thoughts on the receivers?
No, we got to move on. We spent too long.
That's another wide receiver room that could spend a whole hour showing. Travis Kelce, old man Kelce, he's finally not getting drafted in the first round, because we learned our lesson, and he's not even being ranked as the number 1 tight end in fantasy football. His current ADP, really quickly, because we can't spend much time on Travis Kelce, is 39 on Underdog. So
much more reasonable, and honestly, if he still is really good, then why not? Yeah. He was tight end 3 last year. I think he's probably going to be tight end 3 again this year.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough.
So regression, but I mean, still decent.
I like him.
Oh, there you go. He's 34.
He's 34 years old. Is it worth me drafting him in the 3rd round for that? Maybe.
Yeah, that's the one year you finally draft Travis Kelce. Is the year.
Oh my gosh! Well, that value comes down. It's perfect, and he gets hurt 3 times. All right, let's talk about the rival for the word. I will say, I'm going to say this just outright.
Okay.
So all the betting markets and all these analytics people are saying the Patriots are going to they have a really good shot of having the 1st overall pick. We haven't gotten to the Pats yet. It's not going to look good. Not going to lie. But I'm seeing some of these other teams here. And I'm like, they suck.
Yeah, they do.
Their offenses might be worse than the Patriots. And that's saying something. So, anyway, let's talk about the Raiders. Their quarterbacks, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. I remember looking at stuff. The Raiders were so sick, and the Raiders fans were so sick and tired of Jimmy G. They're like, give us Aiden O'Connell. Yeah. And then he went in and he sucked. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't want any of these guys for fantasy football.
The Raiders and Broncos are probably going to be 2 teams in the top 5 of the draft next year.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
Yeah, for sure.
The Raiders at least do have a little star power, but yeah, nothing at quarterback.
Yeah. I would love to see Gardner Minshew win the job and play the whole season, just because Gardner Minshew is who he is. But he ends up, when he plays, he ends up being like a stream option.
Yeah, wasn't he last year like kind of a stream option?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I like the Minshew, but we'll see what happens with the Raiders quarterback room. No one's getting drafted from there though. Running backs. So Josh Jacobs left, went to the Packers. They traded with another NFC North team here.
I think he signed with. I think he was a free agent.
not trade. I didn't mean trade. I
I
just mean like they just gave a running back from the NFC.
They swapped spots.
Yeah, swap spots. But Alexander Mattison goes to the Raiders. He sucks. He's buns. Everyone's talking about Zamir White breakout season. He's going in his ADP 87, being ranked by Fantasy Pros, expert consensus, as the running back 23. So what are your feelings on Zamir White?
I don't love him. I don't love him at all.
That's fair.
I mean, if you want to take him later in the draft, go ahead. But I'm not a fan of the player. I'm not a fan of the situation. I'm not a fan of the offense. So I do think they're going to use Madison. Like, I don't think it's going to be a workhorse for Zamir White. He'll be the guy, but like they'll sprinkle in Madison here and there. So I just don't love it. But who knows? Because
Josh McDaniels' wet dream happened, and he's not even here for it.
I know. But I feel like Antonio Pierce is the type of coach that would use one guy and give him like 25 carries.
I don't dislike White. He might be a guy that I end up drafting a little bit of just to hedge my bets. But my concern is not necessarily that White can't be good. It's that because, really any running back with even a sheer amount of talent gets a big workload and they're generally good. It's the fact that the Raiders are hot trash. Like, they're bad. And their offense is going to score not that many points. And if that's the case, then he'll get a lot of yards and he might get a lot of catches and he might put up some numbers in that department. But if he scores 4 touchdowns, there's not going to be much boom potential with Zamir White, and he's just he's going to rot on your bench or in your second flex all season.
He could be a good like late round. You're desperate for running. All the running backs are gone, and like you're like, oh, I just need a running back. Like, and it's later in the draft. You have a good rest of the team. You want to take him, then fine. But it's just hard for me to be excited.
Yeah, I agree. Wide receiver room looks a little bit better. You have Devontae Adams still here, although there was some clips from last season on that receiver show on Netflix. I don't know if you saw him on Twitter, Rick.
Yeah.
Adams is not happy in Denver. I
don't know why he would be.
And why would you want to go there to begin with? This guy's a bobo. Like, you made your bed, lie in it. Like, this is.
Did.
So anyway, but there have been rumors that Rodgers has been texting Adams, and but the Jets are gonna try to get him. But I don't see it wouldn't surprise me that as we go through camp, Adams demands some kind of trade or wants out in some way, shape, or form. Or he could just play under the contract. It is a weird team where you have some talent at the receiver position.
They do. I think they might have more talent than Denver overall.
Do you think Gardner Minshew, if he starts this year, he's in a better position than he was with the Colts last year?
No.
With the receiver room?
No.
Okay. Really?
Well, receiver room, I don't think the Colts have a bad room, but I would say Davante Adams is better than anyone on the Colts, so. I do like Pittman. I mean, Josh Downs was injured for a bit of last year, but he's okay, and then Alec Pierce is okay. So, yeah, I mean, you could say that he has a better receiver room. Probably a worse offensive line, though. And he had Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis.
Yep.
He has a new wife.
So, Jacoby Myers is also there. He finished as the wide receiver 24, averaging 13.
Very good year for Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, he had a pretty good year. He was a decent flex play. And then Adams last year was the wide receiver 15.6 points per game. So it's not like they had a bad offense. It's not like the receivers didn't produce.
No.
But the big thing for them is like, they're when I talked about on the previous show, the floor plays, these two would be floor plays. They would be guys that you draft as your third receiver.
Honestly, Myers, though, like for where he's getting drafted, I don't mind. He's like wide receiver like 40 something.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I just saw that number. Like
he's gonna be a volume play. Like you're right though. Like he doesn't really have a ceiling. Like his ceiling is last year.
Yeah.
Which is wide receiver 24 or whatever. Like that's kind of the best you're gonna get with him.
I wish I could see how many targets he got, but I don't really care.
He had 106.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, if he was up in the 120 to 130 range, I think he definitely could improve on that. But I don't think that happens with this team.
No.
So, it is funny. Like the Patriots sucked last year, the Raiders sucked last year. Myers is just in like wide receiver hell.
I know he really is.
So
he's kind of like Tyler Boyd before like Jamar Chase and everyone got there. I feel like,
yeah.
But like how Tyler Boyd every single year was like decent and you could play him at your flex, but he was never great.
Yep.
That's like Jacoby Myers. He's like the new fantasy Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay, the tight end position usually pretty fast. This one's a tougher one. Michael Mayer, loved him last year. I was very excited about Michael Mayer.
They really used the tight end. They drafted tight end the first and second round back-to-back years.
I don't get it. I just don't understand. But Mayer had some games last year.
Showed some flashes.
He showed some flashes, and it was there was some.
Year 2 breakout was incoming.
Year 2 breakout was incoming, and then all of a sudden they were like, let's go spend a first-round pick 13 on Brock Bowers. And so Bowers, best comparable player on player profile, Travis Kelce. So there's upside for this kid. I will say, somebody did a breakdown, can't remember who it was, of the tight ends drafted in the first round as it correlates to fantasy football success. Even just making it in the NFL to a second contract. And I think over the last 15 years, there's only been one guy. Don't remember who it was. So we keep a Font is probably going to break that when he reaches that point. He might have already done it. He might have been the one guy.
The second contract?
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I think that was for the same team because like Hawkinson didn't.
Oh, yeah. Second team. So
like for the second Hawkinson got a massive second contract, but it was with the Vikings.
So not a lot of guys that get drafted in the first round tend to work out.
Yeah.
Which I hate to say. But Bowers is very, 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 very good. So
he's the highest drafted tight end outside of Kyle Pitts since I want to say,
but it's just
actually have the list. So he's the highest drafted tight end since Kyle Pitts since 2014.
So is Mayer dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so too.
I think they're going to use both. I think it's going to be gross. There's people drafting Brock Bowers as like a top 10 tight end, and I just wouldn't do that. Not for year one. Like maybe in Dynasty, I think he's got potential, but I think it's just going to be really gross year one. Okay. They're going to use both guys, and Bowers is going to be the guy that you use more often, but it's just not worth it.
Let's go to the last team that we have from the Wests, AFC NFC West.
One of my favorite teams
this week. We have at the quarterback position Justin Herbert. Now, Herbert right now, just to give you a recap, his ADP is 132.
Yeah, he's QB 17 off the board right now.
That's unbelievable.
Isn't it?
That is unbelievable. How the mighty have fallen. Last year, he was getting drafted in the top 5. Things did not go well last year for him. He missed the last 4 weeks of the season. He did average 18 points per game, which would have probably put him in the top 10. I think he's better than his finish. And if he really is going where he is, you and I are going to be fighting over a quarterback. And I'm going to lose that because you have a friggin' chubby in your
I get why he's low. And I think one of the reasons, too, is not just he's been bad the last 2 years or not really bad, but, mid the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like Jim Harbaugh. And Jim Harbaugh wants to run the ball 100 times a game. So it's going to be a more run-heavy first offense this year. So I get it, but it's still Justin Herbert. Like, if they're run-heavy first offense and they are more efficient passing offense, like it'll hurt a little bit in terms of volume, but like, he might throw more touchdowns.
Do you think Harbaugh is one of those guys that adjusts based on the talent he has?
I think a little bit, but they are going to run the ball more than they have.
Yeah.
And it's not even a bad thing. Like, watching Chargers games, because I do watch every Chargers game. Don't ask why. I do. They haven't not been able to run the ball, especially last year. Last year, they couldn't run it all. Every time they tried, they couldn't do it. Defenses were just like, okay, throw it. And then with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams out of the lineup, like, they had nothing, And even Josh Palmer, there was times where he was out, and the only receiver they had was, like, Jalen Guyton. And you couldn't run the ball. Like, it was just a disaster. But if they're able to run the ball, that could open things up for their whole offense.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not even necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, it could be better. Last year was really bad. Like, he's
not going to be like the guy that he was in the beginning of his career, where he's throwing 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. Like,
the last 2 years, 2021, 2022, 5,000 yards, 4,700 yards. Last year.
Yeah.
He only played 13 games, but I don't think he would have made up 1,600 yards in 4 games. So 3,100 yards, not great. His completion percentage was all-time low. And his touchdown total is all-time low. So things not looking good for Herbert. But I agree with Rick. Like, this is a dude, if you can pick it in the middle of like between rounds 10 and 12. I'm
doing it. Well, he's even late, dude. He's like round 14, round 13.
Underdog? Yeah, I don't get that. He's gonna come out and he's gonna light it up. Although lots of things change for him, so maybe that doesn't necessarily happen.
But like, I don't know. Like, you're getting him 3 rounds later than like Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And I'd probably rather just take Herbert.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Let's move to the running back position. We have Gus Bus, who signs here, J.K. Dobbins. They basically just took the entire Ravens running back room and moved it to the Chargers. This is a lot. These two guys.
This is the Harbaugh special.
That's what I was gonna say. This looks exactly like what Harbaugh would do. They also drafted a running back in the 6th round, Kamani Vidal. So I don't know if they're gonna actually use him, but they're definitely gonna use Dobbins and Edwards, probably in a split capacity. Dobbins is 175 ADP, probably not drafted in your home league. Gus Edwards has been getting drafted at 117. So there's a chance maybe that he gets drafted.
The early reports is that they're going to give Gus like the first go around at it.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know how you can say that now before training camp starts.
Yeah.
There's a report. Joe Harbaugh's already like, we like Gus.
It's just because Dobbins is torn his Achilles twice.
He's got the campaign,
or tore his Achilles and tore his ACL.
He's got the campaign sign out that says "We love Gus."
Yeah, it's gonna probably be a split though.
I don't like either of them.
No, I would take a flyer on Dobbins in like the 15th round though, but it's kind of tough. Like, he's Achilles and ACL. Like, it's really borderline impossible to come back.
It is interesting that like whichever guy gets this role. I'm going to backtrack on my statement. I don't like any of these guys. Because whichever guy gets this role,
they are going to get a lot.
He's going to get a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's like, so if it's Gus.
That's the thing with Gus. Like, he's as gross as he is, he might get like 200 something carries this year.
It makes
and goal line touches.
It makes one think. If you're desperate, I'm interested to see what happens as camp goes along, because his job is going to be interesting. But the Achilles is definitely a problem for Dobbins, which is probably why they're giving Gus the work first. Okay, that's the running back room. Let's talk about the receivers. Oh my God,
who's going to emerge from this room?
not Josh Palmer, that's for sure. So they got. Well, just to give you if you're listening, Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston was taken last year, round 1, pick 21. Lad McConkey went in the second round, I believe, pick 202.
Yeah. I think their ideal world is Josh Palmer is your wide receiver 3, and not your wide receiver 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They also have Chark. And I believe this is another draft pick from this year, Brendan Rice.
6th round, right? 7th round.
He was talked about a lot pre-draft, but didn't get drafted.
It's going to be like, I think Palmer is what he is.
Yeah.
Right? Which isn't terrible, but not going to be like anything crazy.
Yeah.
And then it's who's going to emerge between Ladd and Quentin Johnston, because Quentin Johnston was terrible last year. Like brutal, one of the worst rookie receivers I've seen in a minute, but still a rookie, right? You got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And he was a 1st-round pick. Ladd, who was I think he was 35th overall, I believe, 34th overall.
Yeah.
So a borderline 1st-round pick this year. One of those two guys is going to emerge.
I think Ladd has a better chance of doing that.
I agree.
I will say it kind of fits the mold of what they had team-wise, obviously before Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Because Lad McConkey is...
He's going to play the Keenan Allen role.
He's going to play the Keenan Allen role. And Quentin Johnston will play the Mike...
Which is that not juicy a little bit?
I mean, I guess. With Herbert? Hell yeah. But...
I don't know how many times they're going to throw the ball.
If Lad McConkey, we just don't know. This is the big question mark team. But that's if Lad McConkey does take the slot role that Keenan Allen had. If that is the case, then there should be something there. But they also have Chark, who's like, he's a downfield threat. I actually think he could overtake Palmer. I think Palmer is not good.
I think he could overtake Quentin Johnston too, because Quentin Johnston's one of those guys that he could either emerge.
They're just gonna throw him,
or he could be borderline out of the league by the end of the year.
That's true. But I was gonna say Quentin Johnston's a guy that they're just gonna huck it to.
Yeah.
So this is a bad wide receiver room. Oh my God, worse than the Patriots.
It might be. I mean, Palmer is comparable to Kendrick Bourne, and then we'll see Jalen Polk or Ladd. That's gonna be. We'll see who's better.
I don't know anything about the Chargers mini camps and stuff, but Polk has won over the beat reporters around here. So
yeah, I know the Chargers though. One quick note, because the tight ends are virtually useless on this team.
Okay. I'll reference them, but we don't have to talk about
Sure. You can do it first, and then I'll say
they have Will Dissly, Hayden Hurst, Donald Parham. None of them are fantasy relevant.
No. They're probably going to mix and match between them.
Yep.
Their offensive line, though, which is something that clearly Harbaugh wanted, right? It's Jim Harbaugh. I have to get used to that because I've always been saying Jim Harbaugh the last 5 years. Jim Harbaugh. So they drafted Joe Alt 5th overall. They have Rashawn Slater, who was already their best offensive lineman. That tackle duo is really, really good. And they have Zion Johnson as one of the best guards in the NFL. Their wide receiver room might suck, but they're clearly putting an emphasis on the offensive line, which is why one of those two running backs could be sneaky on this team.
With as talented as Justin Herbert is, right, and how good he's been, it shouldn't matter who's on the field at receiver.
I think that's what they're going for. They're going for we're going to protect Herbert, we're going to have a good running game, and then we'll just put a bunch of receivers out there and, hope one of them
does anything.
They're kind of going with that Patriots and Chiefs mindset.
And who knows, maybe Quentin Johnston doesn't look horrible. I doubt it, but
that's what they're hoping for.
Yeah. But McConkey, if McConkey steps up, that'll be good for them. But I think they're definitely looking into maybe next year's draft or next offseason when they have T. Higgins or Brandon Ayuk available. So
right.
But there you go. There's the Chargers. There's all of the teams from the AFC and NFC West. All right.
Yeah.
There we go. Long stretch. We still got 16 more teams to talk about and break down. We're doing the AFC East last, I think. The Patriots are going to be a problem. But anyway, we'll break down some more teams next week. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.